It is officially 3 o'clock. I will continue to let people in as they arrive, but I will pass the microphone, the virtual microphone, over to Charlotte here.
This is me grabbing it. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Coreille, for that. And again, hey, everyone. Thank you guys for coming out. Just as Coreille mentioned, my name is Charlotte Emetom, and I am the content marketing manager here at InvestNext. And one thing, we are really excited for you guys to join us for this event. This is not your typical monthly meetup. This is a meetup where we are here to raise our glasses to amazing powerhouses in the industry. So whether you guys coming on, if you're a novice or an expert, you guys are considered a game changer as women in the real estate market. So one thing behind what me and Coreille wanted to do is definitely push and support our community of empowerment building. And so we're excited to be a part of a team that's allowing us to push this initiative. And we're also excited, again, Liz coming on, Alexis, Alessandra, Daisy, you guys joining us. So with that being said, Coreille mentioned it before, and I'm just going to mention it again. Feel free to post screenshots of this event, share any snippets if you're recording from your phone, tag InvestNext, tag us, tag the panelists, and and share it with your network. Again, it's open to our real estate brothers and also our sisters. So do share this with your network. So we're excited. I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Coreille so she could just give a bit of a background of her position here at InvestNext.
Awesome. Thank you, Charlotte. All right. Well, I mean, really, I don't need to give too much intro. Obviously, Charlotte and I are very, very passionate about the subject of empowering women and elevating women in general, and especially through real estate, which is one of the most powerful mediums out there for personal and community empowerment. But we're also here today with the enthusiastic support of our entire team at InvestNext, which is awesome. And it makes sense for us too. The mission of InvestNext is to make real estate investing accessible to all. And in order to deliver on that, obviously, we must do everything in our power to bring more women into real estate investing. So we thought, what better way to do that this month than bringing us all together like this to hear stories and advice from these inspiring and unstoppable women from our community. So I'm going to actually start us off here today. Let me see and make sure I've welcomed everybody who is in the waiting room. Oh my goodness, there's a bunch of us. So I'm just going to admit you all. All right, excellent. Well, we have a ton of other people joining. Okay, so we had one panelist who has not quite joined us yet, so she will jump in as soon as she is able to. So I'm going to introduce our other panelists here. We've got Alexis Miles, Alessandra Thompson, and Liz Faircloth here with us right now. So I'm going to just shuffle up our schedule a little bit, throw all of our panelists into chaos here by actually introducing Liz first as our first panelist. So Liz Faircloth, I'm going to go ahead and pin you. Liz is the co-founder of the real estate InvestHER. She's one of the most inspiring and influential women investors out there. In 2005, she co-founded DeRosa Group, which I'm sure lots of you are familiar with her husband, Matt Faircloth. And she helped the business grow for over a decade. And then in 2018, she came together with her friend, Andresa, to launch the Real Estate InvestHER podcast and community. And their mission, like ours today, is to empower women to live financially free and balanced lives on their own terms. InvestNext is incredibly proud to partner and sponsor InvestHER, and I am delighted to hand the figurative mic over to Liz here to talk about how she got started in real estate investing.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate being part of this panel. And I'll be as succinct as I can, which I sometimes don't have a hard time doing, is being succinct. So I got started investing 16 years ago. I was actually getting my degree in social work. So I was getting my master's degree in social work in my early 20s. And my brother-in-law, who was the only entrepreneur I knew, handed me Rich Dad, Poor Dad, said, you have to read this little purple book. I'm like, what are you talking about? I want to help people. I want to start my own practice. I actually want to start my own, therapist practice. And my life was forever changed reading that book. I was like, hold on, there's a whole nother world of life beyond working for someone else and I loved helping people, but I really got intrigued with real estate and what the power of real estate can do for ourselves, as well as our future children, our future generation. And my husband and I started learning and taking as many courses as we could at the local RIA meetings. DIG is what it was in Philadelphia. We took about a year worth of courses, and we bought our first duplex a year later. Borrowed $30,000 from my father, and God bless him, because we didn't know anything at the time except for taking courses. He had a lot of faith in us, and we bought our first duplex, and that was 16 years ago, with a lot of twists and turns and ups and downs and different niches we got involved in, but our focus at this point is mostly multifamily. And we have close to about 2,000 units under control and management in 4 states. But it wasn't like a exact trajectory, but it was a lot of twists and turns, and I learned a lot along the way. That's why I love creating and being in a community that we can share those things with other women and empower each other along the way. So that's a little about me.
Awesome. Thank you, Liz.
That's fantastic. Well, I will jump into introducing one of our second panelists, which is Alexis Miles. She is the CEO of the Partnership Project, which is a social investment firm and an online investment program focusing on real estate development and wealth management. Alexis has a strong background in real estate. And so one thing I want to do, Alexis, I actually want to open the floor to you, and you just share everything that you know, how you got started. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate everyone for being here. Thank you both, and InvestNext. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm very passionate about rebuilding underserved neighborhoods. And I got into the industry really through exposure from a family business. For generations, my family has been in the real estate industry, and I had an opportunity to kind of oversee that process. Where I kind of dived into the industry and started participating more was about 15 years ago. I had the opportunity to oversee my father rebuilding a underserved community in North Philadelphia, and I was very intrigued by the concept of building wealth in a neighborhood that was filled with poverty. It was very interesting to me that there was so much money that could be made. And when I learned that, it kind of connected some gaps there for me. And it made me realize that the solution to breaking poverty and the solution to creating generational wealth and bridging the wealth gap can be right within our own neighborhoods. So I kind of just took that and ran with it.
So thank you for sharing. So Coreille, I'll let you introduce. Daisy's on.
Awesome. All right. So I have excellent news. So we've figured out our technical glitches, and I've got Daisy Serrano to introduce here next. All right. So welcome, Daisy. So Daisy here, let me see. Let me jump back in my notes. All right. So excellent. So Daisy here is the managing partner along with her husband, Luke, for Make It Rain Capital. Make It Rain Capital is a private equity multifamily investment firm focused on acquiring investment apartment properties. And Daisy and Luke live in Austin, where they're limited partners in 445 units in Central Texas, which is really impressive. She's a leader also in the Commercial Real Estate for Women group, as well as the Real Estate Association of Latinx Professionals. And you can get all of that from her bio, but what you can only get by meeting her, like you will today, is that she has this radiant positivity, generous spirit, and passion for uplifting others. So Daisy, please tell us a little bit about how you got started.
Yeah, good afternoon, ladies. Thank you so much for having me today, and I'm honored and humbled to be sharing the stage with you all. Yeah, for me, I never really thought I would be in this real estate space, to be quite honest. I was in education and international education for about 10 years prior to coming into real estate, and never thought I would leave, right? That was what I'd done, what I'd gone to school for and done my master's in, and I loved the space that I was in, right? The work that I was doing with students, with counseling, teaching, was doing quite a bit on that end. And this guy, Luke, came into my life. We started dating, and he started talking about investing, right? And it was something that he was really interested in and passionate about. So at that time, started learning a little bit about it, really more so in support of him, who's now my husband. So good end on that story. But started learning more about it, listening to podcasts, going to meetups, and didn't really feel like I fit in this space, to be quite honest, right? So after a lot of education, going to different groups, I found what I called my tribe. It was a women's group, which is why I love the work that the Real Estate InvestHER community is doing, right? Because I found my space in a group of women that were doing real estate that were really badass, to be quite honest, right? And I saw myself in this group. And so that really led us to this journey of, looking at the space that we were in. We started investing when we were still dating, invested in a couple of properties together, and in doing so launched a podcast because we really saw that there was a gap, right? That there weren't a lot of young people in this space. And we started asking why, right? When you start asking why, it kind of leads you in a lot of different ways. And for us, it led us to launch the podcast because we really wanted to create more access and opportunity for millennials specifically to know that this was something that they could do. And it was very educational based, right? We weren't interested in being active at the time. It was just a way for us to share our own experience with others. And in doing so, it just really took us down this path of, meeting so many amazing people. This community is so supportive, right? And we found just so much richness and support and community in the multifamily space. And people started telling us, why don't you, consider being on the active side, right? And providing this opportunity to other people. And we said, no, like we're just interested in helping educate and support others. Well, here we are now, right, years later, and now transitioned and moved out of California because we decided that we wanted to be on the active side, right, that we wanted to provide that opportunity to other people, and really reverse engineered a 10-year plan for what our lives, for what we wanted to be, right, in 10 years, the kind of life we wanted to have, the kind of family we wanted to have for our future children, right, the kind of lifestyle we wanted to have for our parents, for me to be able to retire my parents, which is a big part of my why. And it really led us to leave California, not knowing anyone, and move to Austin, right? We got married in October of 2020, had what we called our business moon, in Texas, right? Because we couldn't go anywhere during the pandemic. So we went to Dallas and Austin, met with as many people as would meet with us and open the door. And in December, we moved out here, right? So lots going on, right? A lot of planning, of course, in that trajectory. But now we're just very hyper-focused on educating, on helping, millennials, and for me, Latinos, right, in this space, because I don't see that there are very many people of color as well. So that's something that, for me personally, I'm very passionate about as well. Just creating more access and letting people know whether they invest with us or not. It honestly doesn't matter. It's really about creating more opportunity for people that potentially otherwise wouldn't have access to multifamily, multi-billion-dollar investment opportunities.
Oh, I love that. I'm so glad you could join us today. Your story is incredibly inspiring. I can't wait to hear more from you. And we're going to introduce our fourth panelist here, which is Alessandra Thompson. So Alessandra is a 26-year-old real estate investor and analyst for Yarusi Holdings, as well as managing member of Authentic Acquisition. The words she lives by are: success lies on the other side of fear. I can't think of anybody who who embodies that more. She truly believes that life begins when we step outside of our comfort zone. And Alessandra is one of those people that when you meet her, you immediately want to get to know her better because of this. She's brilliant and talented, but she's also living proof that boldness is the single greatest determinant of success. So Alessandra, I am thrilled to pass you the figurative mic now and give you a chance to tell us the very cool and inspiring story of how you got started.
Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here, and I love hearing everybody's stories on here too. It's super inspiring. But I recently got into multifamily about a year and a couple months ago. I just wanted to take control of the outcome of my future. I think that I was living in California, Los Angeles, and I was commuting for like 3 hours a day, and it just wasn't something I wanted. I wasn't passionate about it. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. And my main goal was always to just have that geographical time and financial freedom to just do the things that I want to do when I want to do them. And I unfortunately lost my dad a couple of years ago, and he was working until the day that he passed away. And it was something that I just could not understand. And I just didn't want that to be my life, of just not having the time to spend with the ones that you love. And so I started to just educate myself on like, how could I get started? What are some alternatives like this? There has to be another way. I started listening to the podcast. I jumped onto Clubhouse, and I started just speaking to everyone and anyone and networking with people in the community. And I had some money that I wanted to put aside. So I thought about going into getting a duplex and renting out one side, but then I realized like, I don't want to get rid of all of my capital so soon. And so I started looking into the multifamily space, which clicked for me a lot easier, just because you're joining a partnership, but you're also having a way to analyze the spreadsheets. You're working with several different team members. You have the opportunity to syndicate. And I can't stress enough like how important a partnership is. But when I started joining Clubhouse, I just started speaking with people, and I met my mentors. They just said if I was ever in Nashville, like, let's have a cup of coffee. And I just, in my brain, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to go to Nashville tomorrow. And I drove over there, and I showed up, and I was like, I'm here for the cup of coffee. How can I provide value? Like, I'll be your underwriter. And it just so happened they had an open position. And so they were able to hire me onto the team. I quit my W-2. I didn't know a single soul in Nashville. I've been living here ever since. And I just want to be able to not only find this freedom for myself, but also to provide that opportunity for the ones that I love, and show them that there's another way, and there's another way to build that passive income, and just start educating those around me. I think that's the most important thing, is just realize there's more freedom out there to be had for you and the people that you care about.
Yeah, I definitely like that. One thing that all four have in common, and I'm sure so many others on here with us, is that goal for financial independence, and how you mentioned like not being attached to that W-2, and making pretty much like setting your own path. Like, this is how Alessandra's going to rule her life. This is how Daisy, this is how Alexis, this is how Liz, this is how we're going to rule our lives. And so it's empowering to have that. Of course, when you have that, you're no longer dependent on a company or our spouse or anything else. There's that huge sense of freedom. And again, that boldness that's there. I can do all things. It's all there. So that's really exciting to point that out as well. And it's funny because it almost adds as like a tie-in into as we go into our discussions. Of course, on that road to financial independence or just financial freedom, everything, we all run into some type of obstacle. We all may run into some type of hardship. And of course, it builds character. So just to open up the floor, I wanted to dive into what were the areas of challenges, the biggest challenges that you four encountered just through the path of getting to where you are now. I know so many could be lack of knowledge, or that financial support, that confidence, or how am I going to get started? I definitely want to open the floor to you guys. And this is an open forum. It's an open discussion. Feel free. I can pick someone, or you guys can jump in, but go ahead and just share, the challenges that, again, that you endured and how you overcame them.
I can comment on this first. I would say, so throughout my personal life and my real estate career, and just in entrepreneurship in general, I would say the biggest challenge has been managing my mindset and just making sure that as I'm dealing with ups and downs and as I'm navigating the different hurdles that have come up, that I'm making sure that I'm taking care of myself and I'm focusing on just having a positive mindset. I've been an entrepreneur for a long time and, have experienced success and, some really amazing things and some abundant opportunities. But also within that, I've had some downs and some things that have happened throughout my life that have caused me to not be as motivated or as excited to, get up and work every day. And so I think what has been most impactful for me and most significant in my life is just building myself up and taking care of myself, pouring into surrounding myself with positive people that can contribute to a positive mindset, and just really just acknowledging and being aware of the things that I need to be good. So I think that that's kind of like an underrated concept of, like, a lot of times when you're investing or, you're building like a family business and you're really cultivating, like building out legacy for your family and you're making sacrifices, you can tend to kind of sweep your own needs under the rug and just like constantly feel like you're pushing your agenda forward, but making sure that, you're taking care of yourself, that you're taking a break if you need a break. And that has catapulted my success and like allowed me to really enjoy my life and enjoy my family and enjoy all of the opportunities that have come.
Yeah, I would have to say like mindset is a huge one for me too, but just more on the fear factor and just feeling like I belong in the industry and just overcoming, like not being afraid to ask the wrong questions or being okay with not being like taken seriously right when you're getting started. That was like a big hurdle for me, just because I'm 26. I feel like, and I didn't have any experience in real estate or in the underwriting or speaking to contractors. And now I'm out in the field, like speaking to like 6 at a time. But at first when I got there, they could have just easily taken me for just like some silly woman that didn't know what she was speaking about. And so I think it was more on the front of like, I need to take myself seriously for other people to take me seriously, and to stop thinking that I didn't belong in the certain space or like have this sort of imposter syndrome that people experience in this world. But now that I've like gotten the knowledge and the experience to back it up, I think it's a lot more, it's all about the confidence in the way that we see ourselves that we put out to other people. And I think that's been my biggest challenge. And I'm standing in my own way, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you really hit it on the nail, Alex, in terms of, the imposter syndrome, right? That's been something that I've personally experienced, especially coming from an industry that was so different and that was also very diverse, right? Working with international students and just within education specifically. And then coming into real estate and seeing that there isn't a lot of diversity, whether it's, gender, right, or race and ethnicity, whatever the case might be. For me, it was really hard at the beginning to really take that seat at the table, right? And then feel like I belonged. And I think a big part of it, as I mentioned, right, was finding this women's group and really feeling empowered, but also working on myself, right? Realizing that the reason I don't feel comfortable in this space is the reason I need to be here, because we need more representation, right? Because we need, much more diversity, and because I have such a different experience. And so I bring something very different to the table that nobody else might see potentially, right? And so I think really embracing all those things. And of course, my husband, Luke, was a big part of that journey, because when I had certain insecurities or, didn't want to go to a tour, with the broker, because I was always asked, where's, who else is joining you? There was always that expectation, right, of who else is with you. Like you're almost not prepared enough or know enough to be here by yourself. And the fact that I was new, that I was learning didn't help either, because I already had those insecurities within me. And so those were really more so highlighted, right, by somebody else. But Luke was always just so supportive and said, you belong here. This is where you need to be. And so just having his support as well, right? And Alexis also hit it on the nail in terms of surrounding yourself with the right people, because once I had that tribe behind me and people, had that support and were telling me I needed to be here, this is where you belong, then, it almost blurs out the noise, right, in the background, but it does take a while, right? That imposter syndrome. And I know that for me, it's not something that's gone away. It's something that I've just learned to work with, right? And depending on the space that I'm in, it'll show up again. And I always see it now as a positive, because if it comes up, it's because I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone, which means I'm doing more than I was doing before.
And just to add on that, I feel like every time we've grown our investing business in the 16 years we've been investing, we've come up to a new challenge, right? There's been a new thing that's kind of expanded us, or, made us look at things a little differently. I mean, our first flip, we put a roof on a property and ended up having to tear down the property because it was structurally not correct. I mean, we've made our share of mistakes. I'm not proud of that. That was our first flip. But most recently, I've spoken about this on our podcast, but we did a 1031 exchange, and we were buying a large multifamily and doing a 1031 from an 18 unit to a 200 unit, and got involved. It got involved a 1031 custodian that was actually running like a Ponzi scheme, and he ended up pretty much stealing like $10 million of people's 1031 money. And our project was involved in that, and our money was involved in that. Our investors' money, about $750,000, was involved in that. And that was 4 years ago. And that was 2 weeks before closing of the 200 unit. So when I think about biggest challenges in 16 years, that one comes to mind, because in 2 weeks, we had to figure out how we were going to make up that money to get to closing. Because obviously we were shy about 500,000, because 250 was the money for construction once you bought the property. So we figured that out through the relationships we had. It cost us a lot to do that, to get that money, but we had the relationships to do it and to call in a few people, and got to closing, and turned that property around and sold it just this past January. Got all investors made whole. Everyone was made whole. It was great. But I mean, I think about that, and I think about like what other challenges can happen. And I don't know if it can get worse than that. It was like right before Christmas. And that didn't happen when we started, like putting on a roof of a flip that, you're like, oh, that's structurally, that's a rookie mistake, right? But, 4 years ago, that didn't feel like a rookie mistake. We felt like we got involved in something. We picked the wrong custodian, and shit happens in this business. So I just say that because I don't want that to happen to anyone. It's really, really a tough time for us, but we managed to figure it out, make our investors whole, because that's how we grown our business, me and my husband. And I just say that because I think when you push the limits to the next thing, something's going to happen. Hopefully not that to anyone here on this call, but something's going to happen. And you have that moment of, we got this, we're going to figure it out. And we used our resources, we used relationships we had, not used them, but connected with people and had a community. And I'm grateful for that, because I know other challenges are going to happen when we keep pushing and expanding. So just know that they're going to happen. It's so important to have those relationships and build a community, so you're not figuring out how you're dealing with these things on your own. So
that is actually a kind of a perfect segue, Liz. And I love how you framed that as like part of the reason we're here talking about challenges is because we want to shed light on these to help somebody else in this room avoid those exact same challenges. Part of the reason to come together in any sort of meetup environment like this is, and especially as women, is to make a smoother path for those that are walking after us. So that's what I would love to get into next. Now that we've talked a little bit about those challenges, and I'd love to hear you guys talk to us about the advice you wish you could have given your younger self, or the advice that you'd share with everybody else in this room. Maybe like what mistakes do you see people making still that you'd love to help them avoid? What advice do you have to give the other people in this room today?
Start on this one. And one big one I would say that we've learned, not always the easy way too, is who you're partnering with, right? It's really understanding and knowing people on a deeper level in terms of partnership, because I've experienced this myself, right? Where we go to a conference and you're really excited and you're just learning so much and you're ready to partner and to move forward, right? And you have these big goals and you want to move forward in terms of accomplishing those goals. And for us, it's really been about making sure that our partners have shared values, right? That we know each other, that we've communicated beyond just a conference or an event or a meetup, and we know each other more so on a personal level. We now have sort of a rule, right? An unofficial rule for Make It Rain, that we want to know somebody at least a year before partnering together, right? And have, different conversations, right? About if something was to go wrong, how would you handle this? And, it's not always rosy, right? As I'm sure Liz and Alexis and Alessandra can attest to, right? There's challenges that come up. And so, just really being intentional, right, about it. And I get very excited, right? I tend to learn something, want to, move forward and push, and get there as soon as we can. And Luke is a lot more level-headed. And so it's a good balance for sure to be working together as husband and wife, because we have that balance. But that would be my biggest advice, is just making sure that, you understand your own values and what's important to you, and that you're working and partnering with people that have shared values as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think something that for me, my biggest advice would be just to get started, and don't be afraid of what's going to be on the other side, because it's going to help you grow as a person, and you're just going to course correct. It's going to be a lot of hurdles and obstacles that you're going to have to face, but it's only the first step. You don't have to think of the end goal, just take the next step and take that action, and have some sort of abundance mindset, be able to be risk averse, and I think just get started and take action is the number one thing, because I wouldn't have been in the position that I'm in if I hadn't just taken that risk. And the worst thing that can happen is that you do something else and you course correct. So
Totally.
Absolutely. I would say that one of the biggest lessons that I learned would be the importance of building out the foundation of your business early on, and kind of taking the time to look like 1,000 steps ahead and anticipate success so you can prepare for it. There have been certain things that have happened within my business that have caused an influx of demand. And I didn't have the foundation built out to handle that amount of demand. And that has happened several times where I felt that there were some bottlenecks in my business, where there was just so many people that wanted to access, the product or the service or the opportunity. And I didn't have the back end infrastructure to be able to service all of the people, which, ended up leaving, some money on the table. And also I wasn't able to provide the level of customer service that I wanted to provide by, responding to everyone and being able to communicate with everyone and kind of get them to the finish line. So as I've built my business, I've been an entrepreneur for a decade. As I've built my business, it has been very, very important to me to just kind of take some steps back and build that foundation, make sure that I'm automating, systems and procedures, and that I'm documenting that process within my business. So when I bring on, the new team members, everything is streamlined, and we're just, working in the most efficient way possible. So I think whether you have a business, or you're interested in starting a business, or you're interested in investing, and it's important to just look ahead and identify what you're working towards, and then do the research to identify some of the foundation things that you can put in place to help you get there. And then also, just to double back on what I had said earlier about surrounding yourself with people that can point you in the right direction. So for example, if you're interested in having 100 rental units, or you're interested in generating a certain amount of cash flow on a monthly basis, align yourself with people that are doing that. And so they can kind of help you mitigate the risk by sharing some of the lessons that they've learned. And that by connecting with people that are doing what you seek to do, typically will kind of streamline your process, make it a little bit easier, so you're not making mistakes that could be avoided.
That's an awesome response, Alexis. And one thing that it has me thinking about is that huge value that's there when you make that connection, building that network or information sharing. There's a huge value there. And that's one thing that I've actually realized in this industry, though I'm on the software side, is I would call it most of the open arms, how everyone's there and willing to help shed, or I would say to help mentor, or just shed light, or give advice, or, coming from Liz, hey, this is what happened to me. I don't want you to make the same mistake. This is X, Y, and Z. So that's definitely huge and valuable in this industry. And so I kind of want to shift gears a little bit. And I wanted to ask a question, mainly focusing on our visibility as women in this industry. So I wanted to ask, where do you see the areas I would say for growth, for enhancing woman visibility in this industry? We can talk about it as, if you're building a project and it's connected towards, women of low income, who have low income, and so you want to help improve their lifestyle there, or it could just be specific as being in the industry, attending a conference, and what you've heard and what you've seen. So I'm curious to get everybody's mindset, or, answers on, where do we see that room for growth or development as women as a whole?
I'll start that one, because I think that was the reason we started our community 4 years ago. My partner and I, and Jess and I, were meeting in Panera. We were doing flips and had new construction projects together. And we'd be like, where are all the women in this business? We're just like, we didn't know a lot of them. So we kind of Googled it and we couldn't find a lot. Like, we knew they were out there, we just didn't know them, quite honestly. And at the same time, we're like, what if we were able to interview just women? Wouldn't that be cool? Where investors, or women who are growing a business, or just taking care of themselves too, all of these things. And I had a gentleman early on say, you're going to run out of women. There's just not that many women investors. And he was a pretty smart guy, good friend of mine, actually. And I thought to myself, I'm like, I don't think we're gonna have a problem, and that's 200 episodes ago, So my point in saying that too is just that I have a big opinion about this, just because, literally talking to women all the time, and really fiercely out there trying to wave the flag of empowering women. But I will say that I think women have so much to offer, and I think we need to it's like we got to stop the panels of women, what's it like to be a woman investing, right? So those panels have to kind of get, okay, we don't need those panels anymore. We need more women keynoting conferences. We need women talking about how they've taken their business from 0 to 1,000 units. We need more talks on that, growing their whatever is important to them. And maybe women don't want to go to 1,000, but I want to see more of that. I'd love to see more women keynoting conferences on their own merit, whatever that merit is, because then that opens the door to other women saying, she can do it, I can do it. And that's what we all want, right? So my daughter, hey, this is just what women do, right? It's not like this unique thing, or we want to see more women doing it. Women are going to outlive men, yet women don't invest as much as men. And when they do, they outperform men, right? This is all statistically proven. Women make better investors. We're just not doing it enough. So we have to change that pendulum and do it together and help each other. So.
Fantastic. That's amazing. I don't want to throw anyone in there, but I would also like to, Daisy and Alessandra, Alexis, I would like to hear.
I think she said it all for us.
Yeah, I love, what Liz said, right? It's just about empowering other women. And I think that comes in different forms, right? I think, we have so many different identities. And so we can empower our mothers, our sisters, our children. Something that we're very intentional on right now, we're expecting a little one ourselves, right? And so, I want to do more for my baby, like whether it's a boy or a girl, right? I want to show him or her that mom can run a business, be an entrepreneur, be a mother, be a wife, right? Be a daughter and do all of these things. And I think leading by example and showing and being, that image, right? That presence in the world for other people, and also empowering other women, right? I know that there's a lot of people from my community that are here today. I see, Lily, Nicole, so many wonderful women that I've met in this industry, and just empowering one another, right? I always make it a point to reach out and try to connect and support. And what are you looking for? How can I help you? And whoever I meet, I always, follow up with an email or an introduction or anything in the smallest, that I can do, have them on the podcast, whatever that might look like. Because, it's that trickle effect, right? Where you do for somebody else, and it can be something very small, and then they go do for somebody else, and they do for somebody else. So imagine if all of us, there's 40 participants on this call right now. Imagine if you were to communicate or connect with each of these participants, whether, we're female or male, it doesn't matter, because we're inclusive and we have all. Imagine if you were to communicate with each person after this call, and maybe we drop our information and we connect, and you were to help them with one thing. Then you have 39 other people after this call that is helping you in one way or another. So I would just encourage you all to connect and to make it a genuine connection, right? For sure as well, to add value, because when you're focused on adding value and helping others, it will always come back to you. And I wholeheartedly believe that.
I love that. Sounds great.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Daisy, because I did want to use this opportunity to remind everybody that that's what we're here for today, not just to hear these stories and pieces of wisdom, but to connect with each other. I know that all of you out there, we've talked about the ways that we can help each other and the ways that we need help, no matter how far along you are in your career. There's something that you probably could use help with from the people in this room. And there's something that you have to offer to the people in this room. So please take this opportunity while we shift over to audience Q&A to join us in the chat, make this as interactive as possible. Tell us one thing you can help with and one thing you need help with, along with how folks here can connect with you. I'm going to encourage our panelists to do exactly that as well. So all of us, no matter our level, we can be helping each other and we can take help from each other. So let's get that started. Yes, exactly. I'll just chime in and say, the whole reason that this event today happened is because Charlotte and I connected. We joined up, when I came to InvestNext, we connected immediately. We brought all the other women at InvestNext together for a virtual happy hour. We did some awesome work for the broader company together, but also part of that was like, we want to do something for women investors together. So simply coming together and connecting with other women investors, creates an opportunity for you in your own career to lift yourself up. And also very naturally, we want to reach back a hand as women and uplift all of those other women who can be joining us in this space or who are just starting out. So with that said, while I encourage all of you to be active in the chat right now, I'm going to jump over to one of the great questions that was submitted, which is from somebody who I believe might just be starting out. The question for our panelists is, do you believe there's still capacity in real estate investing, especially for those who are just getting into it?
I can mention my feedback on this. Absolutely. I believe that there's an abundance of opportunity out there, really despite what the market is doing. I had mentioned earlier that I focus primarily on investing in underserved communities. So what that means for me is neighborhoods that lack infrastructure and goods, services, safety, security. They are, typically food deserts, and the communities really need, a lot of very intentional and strategic investment. And so, the negative component of, there's many unfortunate and negative components of underserved communities because of how traumatic the conditions are within the neighborhoods. And but within that, there's an abundance of opportunity to create change and to implement real estate solutions that address the health disparities in these neighborhoods. And so, when you're going into a community that's extremely underserved, typically the properties within the neighborhood are also devalued and can be acquired for a lot less than if you were in a neighborhood that was thriving and flourishing. And one advantage to being able to acquire properties for a lower price point is that there's room for the property to appreciate in value as the neighborhood changes and the conditions become better. But also, if you go in early, you can be a part of that change, and you can, strategize and connect with the community to identify what they really need. So I think, yes, absolutely, there's an abundance of opportunity out here going into an underserved community, just because the value is, in some cases devalued, is absolutely not a reflection of the true value. The neighborhoods are gold mines, and they need investment. They need, responsible strategic investment. And when you're going into a community that's lacking a lot of things, it gives you a lot of opportunity to participate in different asset classes. So for example, our group, we have a family of private equity funds, and our private equity funds address the different health disparities in the community. So some projects that we have are, multifamily senior housing facilities, affordable workforce housing for home ownership, indoor vertical farmers market, preventative medicine facilities, primary care, teaching kitchens, a smart neighborhood technology center. So there's a lot of things that these communities need. And, depending on what you're passionate about, you can invest and, bring that type of facility to fruition.
Can I offer another thought too, as well, in terms of like a hot market that we're in? Often, depending on the niche you're in, right? I mean, small multi, large multi, it's still a very hot market, single family, what have you. The people that are closing deals are the folks that have probably been in the game, right? So they've had the relationships built, and they're continuing their business. Something I wish I did better when I started and we started really growing our portfolio was doing a better job at mentoring under people, just giving them support, right? Asking them what they needed help with, or adding value to their world. So if I was starting out right now in the hot market, like if I had to do it over again, I would really focus in on, who are the players in my local community, who are buying the short-term rentals, who's doing the self-storage, who's doing the RV park, who's doing the bus conversions. There's all these really neat niches in our world, who's doing multifamily, and I'd add value to them because they're getting deals done, right? They're closing deals, they're buying, they're acquiring. We just closed on our largest deal to date in 16 years in this market. So I say that just because don't let it stop you. Don't let the hot market stop you. That's just an excuse. What I would say is find people who are active right now, because there's a lot of them, and see how you can add value to their world, and do whatever you can, whatever you can to add value. Everyone needs help with something. Everyone on this call needs help with something. I can go through a laundry list of things I need help with. We all need it. So don't ever think because someone's doing this or that, they don't need help anymore. They're good. It's like the who, not how. So that's just my 2 cents, is find other really people you respect, you like, there are players in your community, and like meet with them, do whatever you can to get in front of them and make yourself look different and say, hey, how can I help you? I want to add value. How can I add value to your world and your life? So that's just my 2 cents. Don't let the hot market and lack of deal flow stop you.
I agree 100%. That's how I got started. That's how I found the people that I work with, and I was able to just provide value for them. And now I've grown in an entire year to just owning 2 properties now. And it's all just because I looked for the mentor that I was finding people that were doing what I wanted to be doing and putting myself in a position where, how can I help them instead of just taking? So now I've grown, and I think you hit it spot on.
Yeah, and I'll add one more thing, which is consistency, right? I know it's hard and it's a lot of work. And my husband and I had our full-time jobs, and we were doing this, on the side, in the morning, in the evening, on the weekend, right? Whenever we could fit it in. And just having that consistency, right? That it took us a couple years, right, to get to where we are now. And we've been investing now over 4 years, right? And so it hasn't been a short journey, but we haven't missed a podcast episode in almost more than 2 years at this point, right? We've done one every week, and now we're up to 2, and just that consistency, right? Building that as a muscle and growing it as a muscle on whatever endeavor you're doing. And of course, pivoting, right? There's I think a difference between pivoting. If you're doing something and you're seeing that it's not working, and maybe you have a process like Alexis mentioned, and you need to streamline, you need to change things, but just having that consistency, I think, on doing things, and doing it even when you don't want to, even when it's hard, even when you have, family events, and I have a huge family, so there's tons of things that I've had to say no to, right? But our why and our vision is so big, and for me, it's so much bigger than myself at this point that there's no other option than to get there eventually, right? I don't know if it'll take 2 years or 10 years or 20 years, but I will get there. So it's just putting in that consistent work day after day, I would say, is huge.
Awesome. Well, I'm very glad to hear that there's tons of opportunity out there, because I don't think that any of us would be here today if we didn't believe and hope, at least, that that's true. And I second that. I see people starting up all day, every day at InvestNext. My job is to talk to these first-time syndicators. And I can say that, I talk to a lot of men all day long who have absolutely no doubt in their abilities, despite having no experience, no imposter syndrome coming from them, no question that they can do it. And part of what I love and I'm so inspired by with all the women here today is that they went for it. They have that boldness that all of you embody so beautifully. And I hope that's something we can all kind of take away from. And it is infectious here today, is go for it, cast away those doubts, have no fear. And we're all here to support you and make sure that whatever you need along the way, we provide for you. So make sure that you are sharing in the comments those things that you need and can help with. I'm going to post mine right now. And then I am going to, before we run out of time today, because we're getting toward the end of our call, hand the microphone back to Liz Faircloth. And the reason for that is that if you are anything like me, and I know that most of you are entrepreneurial go-getters out there with a passion for this topic, you're thinking, okay, so now what? I'm energized, I'm inspired, I am ready to do something more. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And we've got you covered. Liz has got you covered on that. As the co-founder of Real Estate InvestHER, she is the perfect person to talk a little bit more at this point about what you can do, next steps to continue lifting yourself up while uplifting other women in this industry. So Liz, please tell us a little bit more about how we can get involved with the Real Estate InvestHER and all the awesome things you're doing this year.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So our mission is to empower women to live a financially free and balanced life. And we have a lot of free resources. So we have 55 meetups across the country of just literally women coming together, all experienced. Meetup leaders tend to have a little more experience, and the women they're bringing together all varying degrees of experience, but it's meant to be like local circles of women giving and getting support. So you can check out on our website where we have them. If we don't have one there, let us know, because we're looking to have a meetup in every part of the globe. That's really the goal. So women have and can gain the support they need and want. And those local connections are made. And then we have a free Facebook community of about 10,000 women, started with me, Andressa, and a few of our friends a few years ago. And really, we are very careful to watch the spam, and you know how Facebook groups are. Everyone self-promotes. We're just like sticklers. So we really want women to be in a safe environment to ask questions and to give and get support. And just a lot of neat posts that come on there. If anyone's familiar with our Facebook community, it's a pretty strong Facebook community of just women giving and getting. And then we have other things that we began along the way, a membership and other things we've done. But those are a lot of the free things we have. I put my email in there. Seriously, if you have a question, tag me in our Facebook community. What's neat about what we've done is that if you're really interested in self-storage, you're interested in flipping, I don't know everything about everything, but what's neat is you start to see all these women rising in all these niches. And I love it because it just fuels us, because there's so many amazing women obviously here and doing great things all across the country. So if we can't help you, we know someone who can. So happy to help. And I do want to announce that we have our first in-person conference coming up in Charlotte, North Carolina. Really appreciate InvestNext being one of our sponsors. We're in full gear mode, so I put in there where I need some help. where you know, it's an undertaking putting an in-person conference on. I'll just say that. We have a great team, but it's a lot of moving parts. So it's June 23rd, 24th. We're putting together the event of the year, to be honest with you. It will transform women's lives. It's geared towards women. It's for women. It's 2 days of like mindful networking. We have 20 sessions. We have the only woman in the room, like as you're one of our authors. We have Ashley Wilson that's going to be there. We have women talking about syndication, RV park, self-storage. We have Kim Kiyosaki keynoting. We got someone talking about who, not how, from Dan Sullivan's team, strategic coach. So we have business talk speaking, we have real estate investing, we have self-care. We're giving women a break during the day. We have places women can get support with nursing and all that women needs. We've kind of put together, and you'll be in circles of women connecting. So literally, we're eating and breathing the planning of this conference. I mean that sincerely. So if you've been a part of anything we've done, Andres and I take it pretty seriously. We want to take good care of women. So I hope you can join us. It's on our website. You can learn more. But we're really excited about it. We just want to literally transform women's lives with this conference. So hope you can join us. That's it.
Oh, well, that's phenomenal. I hope that you can all come. We will definitely be there. Charlotte and I are gonna probably be arriving early. Charlotte, North Carolina is a great place to be. It's pretty close to home for me. So again, that's June 23rd and 24th. I put a link in the chat for all of you who are interested and want to join us. You can learn more. All right, so this is the end of our time together today. If any of you have any remaining things that you would like to share with us, any parting words, please go ahead and do that, because it has been an absolute joy and pleasure to spotlight each and every one of you today. I appreciate the authenticity and really the passion that you brought to this subject matter. And this is just the beginning. So I will close from InvestNext by saying that we are doing this again. This is our first, but not our last virtual meetup featuring women real estate investors and bringing you all together as a community in just a couple of months, completely synced up with the Real Estate InvestHER conference. We are going to be doing this once again. So please stay tuned. We'll announce an official date and send out a registration link for that as well. And I hope all of you can actually be there in Charlotte in person with us for that meetup, or at the very least, join us virtually. All right, so that's all from me. Ladies, is there anything else you'd like to say before we sign off today?
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you.
Great to meet you all.
Yeah, wonderful sharing the platform with you all. I'll share 2 things. One, to keep all of the information from the chat, if you just open the chat and the 3 dots on the bottom right-hand side, you can click that and click Save Chat. That way you can communicate with everybody after the call and you're not having to rush into that. So that's just tip number 1. And then my second is that if I can do it, anybody can, to be honest. I think it's, there's so much access, there's so much opportunity, there's so much need for more women in this space. And I just encourage you all to focus on your why, and that'll keep you going. So however I can be a resource, I'm happy to do that for you all. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. This was amazing. And again, I just want to give a shout out to everyone I'm just looking through the chat room and I'm just like, wow, just all the information that was just being shared there and just all the recommendations, get with this person, everybody really, hey, this is the area that I can help out. And so again, thank you all for just participating in that. And again, that's just part of this room for growth and building building all of us together. So that's really amazing. So huge shout out to everyone.
I would say too, just, I'm a big fan of like anything I'm involved in or anything I even attend, I'm like, what's one thing can I take away? Like one action I can take as a result of participating in something. That means following up with one person, doing research on something you heard, or just being like, you know what, I'm going to stop talking about buying that self-storage park, and I'm going to go make a call to a commercial broker tomorrow. Just like put it on your calendar. If you feel inspired by something you heard, or you felt inspired during this hour, like do something with it. Put it on your calendar. Tuesday, I'm going to do this. Tomorrow, I'm going to do that. Just one small step. Not like you're going to buy an apartment complex, but like one small step moves the pendulum forward. So I just encourage you, just take one action. Take one small action that you can totally do within a half hour. That will build momentum and build your, excitement and confidence. So that's just my 2 cents. Just want to say that.
Yeah. I love that. And, if you're out there and you're on the brink of buying an apartment complex, this is your sign. Go buy the apartment complex or whatever it may be, or, download this chat and make some connections. All things are equal. We're driving it forward from here today. So thank you once more to all of our panelists. Thank you to Charlotte for organizing this and really spearheading this. Thank you to the rest of our team, all of the male allies who stood behind and helped make this possible. I hope all of you have a wonderful International Women's History and Celebration Month, and we'll carry it forward from here through the rest of the year. So cheers to allies, and we'll see you all soon.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Ciao.